On this week's episode, is there a future for E3? HBO says our flag means death, and we recap WrestleMania. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanican Media, wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, also as well, if you can go ahead and check us out at Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos, because we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook. We do a lot of great things there. Plus, we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. And if you could support all of that, it is sincerely appreciated. But I wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is our own Blockbuster Knight at Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Humanican Media, where he's got a ton of great things that he's done and he's still doing, like the Super BS Gamescast and Topicocalypse. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What is up? Hey, so fun news, kind of unrelated to what we're talking about today, but we occasionally talk about Gundam on this show, and I just found out that Gundam is, along with their announcement about their new series, the Witch of something or other. I don't remember the exact title of it, but they're saying they're building a metaverse now. So when you go out and buy
Of
like the gun,
course.
right? And so when you go out and buy like the I don't even know how to say it, the model kits, you go out and buy the model kits, which I do enjoy. You can scan them into this metaverse and you can use them in whatever this metaverse platform is going to be. So they're trying to tie in the anime to the video games to the model kits. They're just connecting it all. I don't quite know how that's going to work, but it's a neat idea as we're heading into this metaverse era.
Of course, because you'll see everybody trying to create their own metaverse. So
Mhm.
we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing what the future holds for the Gundamverse. How about that? How about
There
that?
we go. I like
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
And
Yeah, much
we're
better.
we're working on a pop culture cosmos metaverse.
Yes, there
So
you go.
yeah, you guys can all it's just going to be a whole world of pop culture things. That's actually
Absolutely.
not true. We're not currently working on that, but maybe in the future we'll have something like that. Probably not, but
Well, Melinda, the host of the Friday show, she always tells me that it's all under the pop culture cosmos umbrella. All the Vampires Vitae, all the Humanica Media, all the other stuff that she does, Wizards and Wine, tabletop RPGs, all the stuff that we do with pop culture cosmos. So it's all under the umbrella. So you could say it's the umbrella verse.
the umbrella verse. I like that.
There you go, indeed. But we've got a great show under this part of the umbrella verse for today's show. We're going to be talking about who won at the box office and was it a disappointment or a boost for that particular picture. I think everybody knows what that movie is. So let's see if it took a good bite out of the box office this weekend. We'll talk about that. Plus, I have thoughts, and I hope Josh will as well, on Halo Episode 2. We're talking also as well The Bubble on Netflix. Severance, I'm just going to mention real quickly because it's my weekly. You got to watch Severance on Apple Plus, so I'll mention that. Also, HBO's Our Flag Means Death, because we're going to go ahead and talk about Our Flag Means Death on today's episode. I know that's been a big hit for HBO Max. Is it a show worth investing into? We'll talk about that. E3 officially gets canceled as far as the digital part and also the physical earlier this year. So we're going to talk about what the future might hold for E3 and is it still relevant? And is it still wanted? And is it still needed in the video game industry? We'll talk about that. Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, speaking of delays, is also being delayed to next year. Josh wanted to go ahead and share some thoughts on if this will affect the winter or the fall, as it were, the later part of the year in the world of gaming. We'll talk about that. And does anyone care about the Academy Awards after the Slapgate that went on last weekend? I think it overshadows the lack of people interested, the lack of interest in the Academy Awards. We'll talk about that on the back end of the show. Plus, in the middle, we've got not one but two great reports coming up for you on the night one and night two of WrestleMania. Who won as far as the major matches that were there? What were the big decisions? Were we happy with them? We'll go ahead and talk about night one and night two of WrestleMania weekend. That's coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, it is the box office. Real quick, I wanted to go ahead and run down that Morbius here in the United States is the box office champ. It debuted with horrible reviews. As I mentioned on the Friday show, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 37 is the Metacritic score. And it was very fortunate that it actually earned about $39-40 million at the U.S. box office, which was right around what Sony was projecting. Didn't exceed what Sony was projecting, that's for sure. I want to hear your thoughts on Morbius. I know this is something that is getting raked over the coals out there. I have a feeling that this time next week we'll be seeing the numbers transcend down rapidly because of the bad word of mouth. But your thoughts on Morbius?
This is a movie that suffered from the release date pushes that it kept going through. The marketing was really heavy at first, saying, "Hey, it's coming out on this date," and then all of a sudden it got shifted. So I think it got shifted twice, right? If I remember
Yes, at
correctly,
least twice.
at least twice. So nobody really knew when this movie was coming out, and then all of a sudden, like me, for example, I had no idea it was coming out on Friday. I just kind of turned on the computer one day and saw the reviews pop up for it. So it just kind of they just kind of pushed it out, and I don't think a lot of people knew anything about this movie or what to expect from it when it was coming out. And I feel like it was marketed very poorly due to the constant date shifting with this property and the fact that, like, did anybody really want a Morbius film?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the bigger picture. Did anybody really want a Morbius film? Should Morbius have been a part of a bigger picture like a Spider-Man picture, and then if there was a lot of interest in him, maybe make a picture then instead of the other way around? But again, it's Sony's arrogance because of the fact that they thought they could put out any kind of movie out there in the Spider-Verse, i.e. Venom, which did very well, exceedingly well for an R-rated picture, even though it also got raked over the coals as far as critically is concerned. But it's found a new life. It's found a continuous life. The sequel did well enough as well. So I think that with Morbius, it sends a bad sign for Black Cat. It sends a bad sign for Craven the Hunter that maybe you should not make all these different standalone movies in the Spider Verse. Maybe you should focus more on a Sinister Six instead.
Well, they're so focused on like Spider-Man's like his rogues gallery, the Morbius, Craven the Hunter,
Mhm.
Venom, all these characters. I know there's a Madam Web movie coming out, so it's like this idea that, like, I can't have Spider-Man due to contractual obligations to Marvel, but let's build this world so eventually we can put him back into it. But the cool thing about the villains, at least in like the cartoons and the comic books, is that you're learning about their origins as they're taking on Spider-Man. So you're figuring out like why they're so tragic, and at the same time, like, you're feeling that confliction that Spider-Man has with fighting them. You're not getting any of that like human aspect in these movies. They're just like, oh, hey, let's set this up, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And it just kind of takes away from that whole experience. With Morbius, I think it's a matter of he's kind of an unknown villain. Not a lot of people know about him unless you like watch the cartoon from the 90s. And there's a lot of Morbius, Michael Morbius in there. But I don't know. Like, this is not, it's, from what I understand, they're setting up some kind of like Sinister Six or villain team up based on what happened in the credits, in the end credits with what's his name, Michael Keaton getting pulled into whatever universe
Vulture.
it is. Yeah, and so this is what's leading to the speculation that this is going to take place in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universe. So if they're building, I don't want to see a Sinister Six movie without Spider-Man. If they're building up towards that, that would be cool, but I don't. I think they're just trying to throw as many coals into the fire as they can without really knowing where they're going.
What are your thoughts out there on Morbius? Did you get a chance to check it out this past weekend? Is it something on your radar? Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. We'd like to hear if there's any pushback on the poor reviews and people saying out there if it is good or not. But please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, my friend, a couple quick reviews. Halo Episode 2. I know you got a chance to check that out. I wanted to ask you personally on Halo. Are you a God fearing man? Do you go to church quite a bit? Let me ask you that on a personal level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
am.
can you do me a favor if
Hmm.
that's the case? Can you say a prayer for me that you can give me enough strength to get through Halo? Because this series is just yeah, it's not trending for me in the right direction. I'm just
It's
it's yeah, it's bad.
it's ironic that you bring religion into Halo because Halo is
Yes,
such a religious show. But
exactly.
I don't know. I'm very middle of the road on this. Like I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I'm just kind of watching it, hoping that at some point it's going to
I'm just trying to get through it.
cap. I guess I mean I don't know if I dislike it as much as you do, but I don't like it. I'm just kind of I keep hoping that it's going to captivate me.
Well,
And
the problem is the fact that they took all these elements that we are familiar with, they put it like in a blender, and it's yeah, that's fine that they built their own new story from it, and they've jumped the shark. They not only jumped the shark, they did like a backflip over it. That's great,
yeah,
but the fact is, what you built with this new storyline and all these different things you've added in there, plus the fact you brought everything all the familiar and it just doesn't work. It's just bad. Space
yeah,
trolley cars, a covenant human that's it's stripping off all her clothes, for a show that I think a lot of kids are going to watch. This is just not good, man. This is just not good. I'm usually not a prude about anything like that, but man, this is just not good. The dialogue does not work. Master Chief, the guy who's playing Master Chief, he's yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just like,
yeah.
why you're just as depressed as he is going through this show.
Oh, I agree. He doesn't seem to have any direction. I think the last episode was a waste of time too because he's like, "Well, you're the only person I know, so I need to come here." And then he ends up going immediately back to where he came from. Like it just makes it feel like we went in this giant circle. And then Cortana, like what is Cortana an AI? Because she clearly has flesh and bone in this in this
And
show here. And it's
if Dr. Halsey has her way, Dr. Halsey has her way, she's going to go ahead and install Cortana, and it's going to take over his brain entirely instead of the cooperational thing that we know from the video games.
Yeah, so see that's kind of an element that could make or break my enjoyment of the show, which is not there quite yet. And so, like I said, I keep waiting for it to captivate me, but so far it just has not done that.
It's not done it for me as well. Please, Josh, the next time you go to church, just yeah, please pray for my strength, please, just to help me get this
Yeah,
through it,
I'll send a prayer up for you.
to help me get through this, man, just to help me get through. What are your thoughts out there on Halo so far? 2 episodes in. Again, I'm very, very happy that it's doing great numbers on Paramount Plus. Please do not get me wrong. I really am so happy that it is because the fact it will open up the door for more video game IPs in the future. It's just bad. It's just bad. And I hope you're enjoying it much more than we are. But please let us know your thoughts on Halo Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. One more thing before we hit the break. The Bubble on Netflix. Got a chance to see Judd Apatow's latest movie this past weekend with Pedro Pascal, Leslie Mann, David Duchovny, and quite a few others in this farce of maybe poking fun at Hollywood, poking fun at Jurassic Park, poking fun at the pandemic, and all that is there. It just seemed like it was going through the numbers. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the best person to go to when it comes to comedies because it takes a lot to make me laugh. It really does take a lot to make me laugh on comedies because I've seen so much as far as the comedic styles and trying to gauge and whatnot and trying and understanding the movie scene and for so many years it's hard for comedy setups to go ahead and win me over, which I will talk about more here in a bit. But your thoughts as far as Netflix is concerned, because the bubble represents to me something where, yes, while Netflix does get the Power of the Dog, which does so well and is such a great movie and is thought of as almost a Best Picture, and is Best Picture nominee and things of that nature. Unfortunately, there's so many other movies that are paint by numbers that Netflix gets with just the name stars or the name producers, and in this case, the name director, and just goes through the motions. It gets a lot of clicks, it gets a lot of views, but it seems like I don't want to say it's like what we were talking about with the Wii, where there's just all this trash junkware that was going on. This that we saw. It just seems to me that a lot of these actors and a lot, like for instance Ryan Reynolds, all of his movies out there, that he's put on Netflix has been for the most part. Adam Project was all right, but rest of it's eh. But your thoughts on Netflix and the fact that again they get a lot of stuff that's just going to get a lot of clicks, and it just really doesn't resonate long term.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, the Adam Sandler films, his contract that he had a couple years ago was kind of the opening of that.
Yeah,
You look at
good
stuff
point.
on Netflix, and what used to be great about Netflix was the fact that they had a lot of these, like, I guess, indie feeling projects. I mean, I would equate the first season of Stranger Things to that, where you have all these unknown actors and stuff on these shows, and they end up being really good because you're not relying on star power to sell a story. You're relying on a story to sell a story.
Yeah.
And now with like you said, the dawn of all these big name people showing up on Netflix stuff. Yeah, people are watching them, but I don't think people are necessarily liking them. And this goes back to something like Amazon Prime, and I know our friend Rob McCallum has a show on Amazon Prime, the action figure adventure. But you can it's pretty easy for the average man to create and produce a show, get it up on Amazon Prime, and get paid based on 40 cents per 100 hours or whatever the show is watched. I forget exactly what the numbers are, but you're getting a lot of really great things on Amazon Prime created by people who don't have the star power. They're it's actual talent that's being put up on a lot of these Amazon Prime things. And it just goes to, you kind of look at the two side by side, and you see a world that is clearly craving storytelling over star power, but Netflix is kind of in it for, I don't know, it just doesn't,
Well, we've talked
they're
about Netflix before. They just throw They just throw darts. They just
they
throw
just they
content.
just throw darts, and it just it makes you wonder, are they more interested in the clicks or like having content that will truly keep people coming back? Because especially with the $20 price point they're about to hit here, like they're going to lose a lot of subscribers based on that. So is this an attempt to keep those people there? Because to me, it's not working. I much rather feel like my subscription to Amazon Prime is a lot more worth the money than my subscription to Netflix. Like, where's their heart at, I guess, is the big question here.
Well, they still have enough content, enough quality content that they throw at you, but they fill it a lot with filler. A lot of filler. A
Right.
lot of filler out there, either pre-recorded or stuff that was taped or stuff that was done a while back,
Hmm.
or series that they grab from other networks, or like I said, original stuff that they throw out there that isn't always the best, or they throw a big name at you in a project that looks like it was shot over the weekend somewhere. So it's something where I think that again, it's a bigger issue, but people are liking it, people are clicking on it, and as long as they continue to do so, like you said, it's all about the subscriptions. Can they maintain the 220 million subscriptions out there or grow on that? We'll wait and see. But your thoughts on the bubble from Netflix? Again, it was there. It just really wasn't that great of a comedy. Wasn't Judd Apatow's best by any stretch of the imagination. But what's your thoughts out there on the bubble from Netflix, and also the content that Netflix produces? Are you having issues with it? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up next for the next few minutes on both the front and back side of the show, we're going to go ahead and cover WrestleMania. Night 1 is coming up next, but also after the break, it's night 2 of WrestleMania. Our thoughts on both nights, that's coming up here in a bit. And after that, Josh and I are going to be talking a little bit about Severance, Our Flag Means Death, E3 getting canceled, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and does anyone still care about the Academy Awards? That's coming up after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the show. It's the Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to thank so much everyone involved in covering WrestleMania for both nights. We truly appreciate everyone taking the time out there. But before we head on out, my friend, got some things we want to cover. Severance on Apple Plus. This is my weekly reminder, Josh. Or actually, this is my every show reminders, Josh, to go ahead and watch Severance. The best show. Well, I don't know. I don't say it's the best because the final show hasn't aired. The finale, we were left on a cliffhanger leading into the final week, the final episode of season 1 of Severance. So I don't want to say it yet. I will say it next week, whether or not it is or not isn't, but it is certainly dang good. It is Severance. It is truly a pleasure to watch as far as the mystery, as far as twists and turns, as far as the end each and every week, leaving you wanting more. It does everything. It creates emotion. I have not had this much emotion in watching a show, not this much. I haven't had this much interest in watching a show in quite some time. I think The Boys season 1, I think, did that for me, but this has created so much emotion for me. I'm so excited to see the next episode and the final episode that's coming up this week. I know everybody is on pins and needles on what's going on, so please, you'll hear my final thoughts on Severance next week. But yes, please check it out, the finale, and binge it now on Apple Plus.
Okay. All right. I'll throw it into the queue. I know you keep telling me to watch it, and I need to, and I will.
This
I
is some
will
really good
watch
stuff,
this.
man. It's
Okay.
not only character driven, it's plot driven. It's just everything is working, and that's the good thing. And they, you think they forget about things in the earlier episodes to later episodes, then they bring it back and remind you of it. Then they twist and turns, like I said, cliffhangers. Each, like this last week was a cliffhanger. So it's like, oh gosh, cannot
Yeah.
wait to go ahead and check out episode 9 of Severance coming up later this week. But I will have my final thoughts on Severance season 1 on next week's Pop Culture Cosmos. But for the
Can
rest
I?
of the
Can
show,
I?
my friend, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
I know that you and Melinda probably talked about this, but what were your thoughts on Moon Knight? Like, did you like it? Did you not like it?
Oh, absolutely. We can go. Yeah, absolutely. Please always interject with something like that. Moon Knight, I did. Got off to an easy start. It's got off to a good start. Easy watch. To me, it was an easy watch. It's like it felt like it breezed right through. It didn't put any filler in there. It didn't cause any it was really good. It was something that helped set up the character in a fun way. It was mostly Stephen Grant, so I know a lot of people are going to be having issues with that because it was mostly Stephen Grant from the gift shop in there. But I think it was off to a good start. I think the fact that it leaves you wanting more and wants you to continue watching it, I think that's a good start for me. Melinda and I were both very pleased with the start of Moon Knight.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I know he's a more obscure Marvel property, but I think they did a good job of kind of like explaining his story. And I think Oscar Isaac did an amazing job at playing three different characters. Like that was probably my favorite part of that show was the just watching his dynamic with his other personalities. And it almost felt like a BBC comedy at some parts of it with
Yeah.
Steven in the gift shop. And it
Yeah,
was
he's trying hard on that accent.
Oh man, but the accent didn't really bother me as much as the or no nothing really bothered me. What I'm saying the accent was I didn't really notice it because I was so I don't know that character is just funny. It's just he's very easy to like, and
Yeah,
that's probably one of my favorite parts about this show is that the you feel for this guy who has no idea what's going on, and you're like, oh well, tell me more. Like I'm on the edge of my seat here.
the only thing is though, are we going to get invested into a character that may or may not be a major part of the MCU going forward? I know Oscar Isaac has been clear that he's only doing one season of Moon Knight. I'm assuming, and it's been speculated on that he will be making appearances in movies if there's a Midnight Suns, Dark Avengers, or he'll be a part of the MCU going forward. I don't think that Disney would invest this kind of money in a series and not have him play a role down the road. A Moon Knight season two, I'm not sure if that'll ever come to pass because again, he's been very clear to say he's only doing one season of it. But I'm hoping we'll see more of this. I'm hoping it will. Disney and Marvel usually don't do things to just go ahead and say, okay, it's there and we're done. We're
Yeah.
moving on when it comes to the MCU. Usually, it's there to play a larger role. So I'm hoping that will be the case.
Oh, for sure. And we still have there's a lot of things floating around in the MCU right now that I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll come back to. Like we still have the White Vision and Moon Knight. We have Daredevil, and we don't even know what's going on with Punisher. But there's a lot of things just floating around out there that they have the ability to use, and I'm sure at some point they will end up using them.
I'm hoping so. But what are your thoughts out there on Moon Knight, episode one? We're liking it so far, hoping the good things will follow. Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Speaking of stuff that's out there, HBO Max, one of their biggest hits right now is Our Flag Means Death, the comedy that is executive produced by Taika Waititi, who plays Blackbeard in the in the series. It's a show about a wealthy landowner who all of a sudden gets up and says, "I want to become a pirate." So he gets a team together and they go on various calamity adventures. I again am not the best judge of sitcoms and comedic things. I didn't enjoy my first episode or two on this, so I've not enjoyed it. I'm trying to stick through it and trying to get through it, but your thoughts on Our Flag Means Death? Obviously, it's getting a lot of praise as far as from people out there that are enjoying it. It's trending well on a lot of parameters and analytics. Your thoughts on Our Flag Means Death?
So I sat there and I watched the first episode. It felt like a lot of the comedies that used to be on Comedy Central back in the day, and even
Yeah,
NBC had a lot of like hit and miss comedies like that. The Outsourced is one I can think of in particular, but I don't know. Like I just like it's not hilarious to me,
neither to me as well.
but it's I can see why people like it, but it's not something that even the episode was like 22 minutes, but even before I reached like the 15-minute mark, I was looking at the time like, when is this going to end?
Yeah, it's just something that I'm very. I don't think I'm not. I'm not even sure if I am going to complete it as far as that series is concerned. I'm already having to deal with Halo, so
Yeah.
having two different series that I'm not exactly in love with is really hard to get through. But we
Hmm.
want to hear your thoughts if you are going to be able to go ahead and get through Our Flag Means Death, or if you enjoy Our Flag Means Death. To me, it's not What We Do in the Shadows anywhere near it. What We Do in
Oh,
the
absolutely
Shadows, yeah,
not. Yeah.
yeah, that's so much better created. That's so much better of a series. That's so much more enjoyable. That's so much more funny, more inspirational. So
Yeah.
please, we want to hear your thoughts on HBO's Our Flag Means Death. It's getting good ratings, I believe. It's getting good buzz. So we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts on if we're wrong on Our Flag Means Death. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, now we get to some video games before we head on out, my friend. First up is Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed to next year, which is absolutely of no surprise to me. You wanted to go ahead and phrase it into a bigger question of what the fall gaming season would look like. And to me, as long as Starfield's there, I think I'm okay. If Bethesda decides to get back on the right track of Elder Scrolls and not the wrong track of Fallout 76. So I want to hear your thoughts on Breath of the Wild 2 getting delayed. Again, this is something where people will still buy stuff from Nintendo just because it's Nintendo. They'll buy it without any marketable releases. They'll just wait forever. It's just because, again, Nintendo's just Nintendo. So I don't think this is really going to get anybody really mad because they know eventually at the end of the day, Zelda will come out and it'll be really good.
Yeah, no, and I don't think that it's going to be of any detriment to game sales at all. But I'm looking at it, and Forspoken keeps getting pushed back. God of War has yet to have a release date. What was it? The Suicide Squad got pushed back a lot, or again. So we're seeing a lot of game releases being pushed back. And if you look at the only things in the fall that have solid release dates, you have Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown comes out September 22nd. Forspoken allegedly coming out October 11th. Gotham Knights October 25th. Starfield November 11th, Stalker 2 December 8th, and then just a bunch of things that are rumored to come out but don't have release dates. Such as God of War. There's a new Dragon Ball. There's a lot. Final Fantasy 7, EverQuest. There's a lot of things that are rumored to be coming out but don't have solid release dates. So I'm just curious here, like, what do you think the holiday season for gaming is going to be like? Because usually you have 4 or 5 big releases, and I agree with you. Like, Starfield is probably going to be a massive enough game to kind of consume all of my holiday time, but you just don't have. I don't know. There's nothing that's like concrete here that seems to be outside of Starfield that's going to be of any substance to a lot of people, and
Well, that's part of the
especially
problem because you don't have. This is part number two of our video game coverage. Is that E3 was officially
yeah.
canceled.
Hmm.
The physical was canceled in January, and the digital was canceled last week, which
Yeah.
means they're trying to tell you that okay, we're getting everything set up for next year, 2023. That's great and all that, but to me, E3 again, as I've always told you, it should be the platform for the video game industry and should
Right.
be the platform for everyone to go announce their big things there. Now, like you said, we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's on the way. We have no idea. But with Nintendo doing its own thing and PlayStation doing its own thing and Microsoft doing its own thing on these, conferences that they have,
Hmm.
these mini showcases that they do every now and then, does it really matter? Is the importance of E3 lessening? Yes. Does it really matter that E3's being canceled this year? No, because they'll announce their games when they can. But I just love that one formulated time in June where we would know what was coming up for the near future
Yeah.
and the distant future for the video game industry. Now you don't have that. Now we got to go ahead and play everything by ear and wait for all them to go ahead and do their different showcases. And it's just a stressful time, man, for a video game.
Right, right. And E3, it's funny because I was thinking back to like our first time at E3. Remember, it was in 2017 or something like that. But yeah, that was a cool thing because we walked into all these shows, we saw the big booths, all the big names were there: Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. Everybody was there, and now they're all kind of doing their own thing. So everyone keeps saying E3 is going to come back more powerful in 2023, but they're not. This
They're
is
not.
probably most likely this is going to be the end of E3 because you have the IGN Summer of Gaming, the Jeff Keighley whatever thing that he's got going on. Like it's and Microsoft will probably have a conference. Sony will be like, "Oh, let's be different and let's do our
State
conference."
of Play and the
Yeah,
Nintendo showcase, and Microsoft has his showcase. They all
so,
have their showcases now
right.
that they go ahead, and then it's just I don't know if unfortunately it's not the way I still would love to have it presented because E3 should be that one big Super Bowl event
Hmm.
as it was for many years and now no longer is. I think
Yeah.
they'll try to bring it back next year, but it will never be in the same form as it was
Oh,
before, and
absolutely
that's
not.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that being said, I'm sure we're going to get some announcements come some May or June or whatever regarding games coming out in the fall, but it doesn't feel as exciting as it once was. You could sit down, oh my gosh, I'm going to watch this Microsoft conference. They're going to tell me everything I can get in October, September, or whatever. Same thing with PlayStation, Nintendo, like, oh, this stuff looks awesome. It just doesn't have that hype anymore because especially with people still suffering from the pandemic, what the aftermath of the pandemic, we just don't have that wow anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, it's still something hopefully we can look forward to E3, but I don't think it'll ever be the same. Your thoughts out there on E3 getting canceled and Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 getting delayed? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com if you think that there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel for both of these. Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Before we head on out, my friend, I know you wanted to touch on the Academy Awards. The ratings came out and there was a 56% bump up in the ratings, but when your ratings were the lowest ever last year, I think that this was a improvement, but this was still the second lowest ratings ever for the Academy Awards. And a lot of that is attributed to the Slapgate as far as the bump up is concerned, because once it started trending worldwide, people started tuning in. I think to the tune of 500,000 viewers or something like that, even more, right after the Slapgate took place between Will Smith and Chris Rock. I don't. I know the Academy Awards for billing, for importance, as far as for what it does, as far as if you win. I think that still means something. I just think nobody wants to sit through the 3 hours and hear about it. They can just go ahead and check out on the internet who won and who lost and go from there.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of the conspiracy stuff out there is true with the people saying, "Oh, well, Will Smith was smiling" or whatever it might be, but I think the Academy Awards is kind of I don't think people care anymore. And like you said, like all those people jumped on after they had heard about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. I look at this in the same way I look at the what was that Imagine music video that the celebrities did during the pandemic, like trying to
Mm-hmm.
say like, oh hey, we're all in this together. But you know, obviously there's some discrepancies in lifestyles there, right? So
Yes.
I view the Academy Awards as a time when celebrities get together and kind of congratulate each other on stuff that they did that the average person did not watch.
Well, it is something again going forward that there'll probably be. I think this level of interest will be there continuously, but it will be a level of interest that is not like what it used to be. I mean, when the Academy Awards captivated the world's attention, I think those days, like E3, are in the past. I think people have got to come to grips with that. The Academy Awards will still be pomp and circumstance and style, but I think that the amount of people watching it will be around what you're seeing now, just because there's so many different things that we can do and see, that we don't have to go ahead and sit through 3 4 hours of Academy Awards and people backslapping each other. Sorry, pardon
Mhm.
the pun with the slapping. But
No
just
puns.
it just seems like the glad handing and all that stuff. I think people just are done with that. They just want to go
Yeah.
ahead and just know who won, who lost, and go from there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just like I'm not interested in the Academy Awards. I'm not interested in a lot of the movies that are put out there, and I see that they're like, and you can tell the discrepancy in the people there versus like some of these the fan categories, right? Where they showed like the Flash going into the whatever it is. It got zero applause at the Academy Awards because like they're I don't know, it's just kind of snobby towards stuff that's like, well, it's not artsy and I didn't do it, like it's just they don't really care about what the average person thinks. It's kind of like, hey, let me go and let's just have this as a night where we can applaud each other for things that we did. And it's just kind of it feels like it's outside the realm of the average person caring about it anymore.
Well, at least Dune won the most awards.
Yes, yeah.
That's what
That was
matters.
good.
Not the
Yeah.
best picture, though. It should have won the best picture, but need I digress.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Academy Awards? Was it a slap in the face for you this year? Or are you looking for something more? Or you really don't care anymore about watching the Academy Awards? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode, but it's that time of the hour, my friend. So please, any thoughts before we head on out?
No, I think we got it covered. I do want to talk about some more Moon Knight next weekend, so
Absolutely. And I will be
check
talking more
it out.
Severance. Severance, 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 people. Severance. So I will.
Sounds good.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to go ahead and thank you so much, Josh, as always, for being part of the program. To everybody checking us out, watching us, and also listening to us out there, we truly appreciate it. And remember, we're here all week long on Facebook at the Pop Culture Cosmos, the number one place to go for tabletop RPG streaming. And of course, the best place to go to check out the latest news and information in pop culture right there at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great